Nora wipes her hands on her apron, watching the men drift away from the Abilene rail yard, one by one, like smoke thinning. Emmett's already mounted when he looks back. She could call his name. Instead, she lets the moment pass, because some kinds of love don't survive standing still. By the time a cattle drive ends, no one belongs to anyone anymore. The trail strips things down to what you can carry, and who keeps pace beside you. Nora's a camp cook, good enough to keep 40 men fed on bad water and worse wood. She hires on, does her work, moves when the work runs out. That's the rule. Emmett rode this drive trying to prove himself. His father's name heavy on his shoulders, his temper quicker than his judgment. They argued over supplies, over time, over nothing that mattered. But somewhere between the Red River and Kansas, the arguing stopped. And when the drive ended, so did the only place their quiet understanding could exist. Because what they never said on the trail will cost them now. Nora lifts the coffee pot off the coals as boots crowd the firing. Men are lining up already, tin cups out, wind pushing dust through camp. Leather creaks, horses stamp. The drive's breaking for the morning push, and nobody waits on a cook. Not yet, she says. Steady. Water's wrong. A few men grumble but hold. Then Emmett rides in close, reins loose, voice sharp. We're burning daylight, he says. Pour it. Nora doesn't look up. She tips the pot back, sets it down. The smell of coffee thins, bitter. Bad water makes bad men, she says. You want fights before noon. That gets laughed from the line. Emmett stiffens. He swings down, boots hitting dirt hard. You hired on to cook, he says, not to run the drive. She finally meets his eyes. Calm, unmoved. I hired on to keep you fed, she answers, and upright. The wind snaps the edge of her apron. Somewhere, a man coughs, waiting. Emmett steps closer. Too close. My father isn't here, Nora cuts in. Clean. And neither is your coffee if you keep talking. Silence lands heavier than shouting. The men watch him now. Emmett looks at the pot, then at the line behind him. He waits. Second stretch. The choice is small, but it's public. He steps back. Finish it, he says. Nora pours. Cups fill. The men move on. When the line thins, Emmett mounts without another word. He doesn't look back. The drive rolls forward, dust rising. And Nora knows something shifted. Not toward peace, but toward a longer silence that'll cost them both. Nora's stack split with beside the fire as the herd settle for night. The men drift off of their plates, low voices fading into the dark. Wind moves through canvas. Dust clings to her skirt. She works fast, practice, the way you do when you don't want company. A shadow stops at the edge of the firelight. Footsteps, measured. She doesn't turn. I've got it, she says. Emmett drops an armful of kindling anyway. The wood lands clean, stacked right. I know, he says. She tightens her grip on the pan. Doesn't look up. You don't, she answers, or you wouldn't be here. The fire pops. Sparks lift, then vanish. Leather creaks as he shifts his weight. I was wrong this morning, he says. Short, controlled. Nora scrapes the pan once more than needed. So, he says, you kept the line fed. That's it. No apology shaped like surrender. No heat. Just fact. It's the most is offered all day. She sets the pan down. Finally turns. Don't make a habit of bringing wood, she says. Men talk. Emmett meets her gaze. Holds it longer than necessary. They already do, he says. The wind pushes smoke between them. For a moment, neither moves, not closer, not away. Nora reaches for the coffee tin, pauses, then pours a cup from the back, stronger, darker. She sets it on a crate near him, not quite offering it. Take it, she says. Oh, don't. He takes it, drinks, doesn't smile. Thank you, he says. She nods once, turns back to the fire. Emmett leaves the empty cup where it is, walks off without another word. Long after he's gone, Nora notices the fire still holds, and she lets it, even though keeping it alive means staying awake longer than she planned. Nora lifts the coffee tin as dawn presses pale against the canvas. The camp stays slow. Breath fogs. Horses snort. Wood creaks as she builds a fire back up, careful with what's left. Good beans are nearly gone. Emmett steps in from the dock, hat low, voice quieter than yesterday. How much time? She doesn't look at him. Enough, she says. He nods. Waits. Doesn't press. That's new. Nora pours the first cups of the men closest, thin, stretched. She works the line, steady hands, measured. Then she reaches the bottom of the pot and stops. Emmett's still there, watching the herd, not her. She hesitates. The choice is small, private. No one's looking. Nora reaches into the tin again, scoops what she's been saving. The smell deepens. She pours one cup, dark, full, and sets it on a crate behind her. She doesn't call him. Emmett notices anyway. He steps over, lifts the cup, then pauses. You sure? She nods once. Drink it or don't. He drinks. Slow, like he knows it matters. The wind picks up, tugging at her sleeve. For a moment, he stands too close again, heat from his coat brushing fabric. Neither moves. Thank you, he says. Softer this time. Nora closes the tin. Don't thank me, she answers. You'll just expect it again. He almost smiles. Almost. A rider calls his name. Emmett steps back, puts the cup down empty. We push hard today, he says. She meets his eyes. I know, she says. He mounts and rides out. The herd follows, dust rising into the morning. Nora watches until is swallowed by it. She wipes her hands on her apron and turns back to the fire. The good coffee's gone now, and she doesn't know which of them will miss it more. Nora steadies a pot as the wagon lurches onto firmer ground. The river's behind them now. Wet leather dries in the sun. The herd spreads easier, less edge in the men's voices. She feels it in her shoulders, the work easing without asking permission. Emmett rides alongside the wagon, rein slack. He keeps pace without crowding her. That's new, too. We made good time, he says. She nods. You pushed too hard yesterday. He doesn't argue. He watches the cattle instead. They cross clean, he says. That's not what I said. He glances at her then, holds it. I know. The wind carries dust between them. Hooves thud steady. No rush. No fire ring to hide behind. Nora reaches for the ladle. Stops when the wagon jolts again. Coffee slushes. Hot. Emmett shifts closer, one hand gripping the rail to steady it. Wood creaks under his palm. You don't have to, she starts. I know, he says, already easing back. Their hands never touch. The space where they could have lingers longer than it should. They ride on in silence. Not sharp, not awkward, just held. At noon, she serves the men. Emmett waits his turn. When his cup comes, she fills it without comment. He takes it the same way. No thanks, no claim. Later, when the wagon crests a low rise, the land opens wide. The trail stretches ahead, long and empty. Emmett reins up beside her once more. Abilene's 3 days, he says. Nora feels the words settle. I know, she answers. Neither of them says what happens after. The herd moves on. The river stays behind them. And for the first time, Nora understands the danger clearly. The trail is running out, and with it, the only place this quiet could live. Nora tightens a rope on the wagon as the herd bunches ahead. The morning comes up wrong. Too fast. Too loud. Men ride tighter than they need to. Dust hangs thick, breath and fabric catching in the throat. She feels it before anyone says it. Emmett rides back, signaling with his hand. We're pushing, he calls. She shakes her head once. They're tired. He reins in beside her, close enough she hears his breath. If we slow now, we'll lose daylight. If you don't, she says, you lose cattle. The wagon jolts. Wood creaks. She braces, waiting for the argument to harden. It doesn't. Emmett looks past her, counting the herd, measuring. His quiet, longer than before. How long? He asks. An hour, she says. Then they'll give you more than you think. The wind presses dust into their clothes. Men watch from a distance, waiting to see who bends. Emmett nods once, raises his arm. The signal passes down the line. The herd eases. Nora exhales without meaning to. They ride on slower. The sound changes, less edge, more rhythm. Hooves settle. Even the men quiet. At mid-morning, Emmett brings his horse alongside the wagon again. You were right, he says. She doesn't look at him. Don't make it a habit, she answers. He almost laughs. Catches it. I won't. Silence follows, but it's different now. Shared. When she hands out water later, Emmett helps without asking, lifting, carrying, stepping back before she has to say anything. Their shoulders brush once. Fabric against fabric. Brief. Neither reacts. By afternoon, the herd moves clean and steady. The men relax. Nora watches Emmett ride the line, calm where he used to rush. The pace they keep now costs them speed, but it buys something else. A stretch of time neither of them is ready to lose. Nora stays apart as camp settles into dark. The fire burns low, steady. Wind moves through the grass. Men eat without talking much, tired in a clean way. The herd beds down easy, a long breath across the land. Emmett comes last this time. He waits while others pass, hands loose at his sides. No rush. Coffee, he asks. She glances at the pot. There's enough, she says. He nods. Doesn't say more. She pours his cup the same as the others. No favor. No withholding. He takes it and steps back, leaving space. That matters more than the drink. Later, when the men drift off, Nora scrubs the pot with sand and water. Her shoulders ache. She works through it, slow. Emmett appears again, carrying a small stack of wood. He sets it down without looking at her. Figured it'd burn longer, he says. She watches him straighten. You don't have to keep doing that. I know, he answers. They stand there, firelight cutting their faces sharp. Leather creaks as he shifts. Wood pops once. This drive ends soon, he says. Not a question. Nora nods. So do most things. He looks at her then. Really looks. You hiring on again? Yes. Same direction. No. The words land heavier than intended. He takes them without flinching. Wyoming, he says after a moment. She doesn't ask where. Doesn't need to. Kansas, she answers. The fire dips. She feeds it once more. Neither moves closer. Neither steps away. The distance holds, because it has to. Emmett sets his empty cup down. Good night, Nora. Good night, she says. He leaves. Footsteps fade. Nora stays by the fire longer than necessary, watching it burn down on its own. Tonight, there was no argument, and the quiet cost more than any of the words they never said. Nora folds the canvas as the town comes into view. Buildings rise from the plain, low and wide. The sound reaches them first. Wagon wheels, shouting, iron on iron. Abilene sits ahead like a hell breath finally let loose. The men straighten in their saddles. Jokes come back. The drive loosens its grip. Emmett rides a line one last time, checking numbers, calling names. His voice carries easy now, confident. He doesn't look toward the wagon. Nora keeps working. She ties knots she's tied 100 times, hands steady. The smell of cooked meat drifts back, mixing with dust and town noise. This is the end of her job. Everyone knows it. When they stop outside the yards, the men break fast. Horses are handed off. Gear drops where it shouldn't. Movement everywhere. Emmett dismounts near her. Not close. Not far. We're done, he says. She nods. You did good, she answers. He hesitates. Just a beat. So did you. That's it. No mocking of what passed between them. No claim. A man calls his name. Emmett turns, then stops himself. He reaches into his throw bag and pulls out a small sack. Coffee beans. What's left of the good kind. For the road, he says, holding it out. Nora looks at it, then at him. The crowd presses around them. No space for longer truths. She takes a sack. Their fingers brush. Leather, skin, brief heat. Safe ride, she says. You too, he answers. He turns away. This time, he doesn't look back. Nora stands with the sack in her hands as the men scatter into town. The drive dissolves around her, and with it, the only reason they ever knew where to stand. Nora shoulders her pack as the stockyards empty behind her. Men pass without seeing her now. Laughter spills from doorways. Hooves strike hard ground headed nowhere in particular. The drive is over, and the town takes what's left. She walks toward the hiring boards, boot steady, breath even. This is a part she knows how to do. Emmett stands near the remuda, loosening a cinch. He works slow, like time still belongs to him. It doesn't. Nora stops 10 paces off. Close enough to speak. Far enough to leave. He looks up. Their eyes meet. No firelight now. No trail to soften things. Just daylight and noise and people who don't care. You headed out? He asks. Yes. Today? She nods. Crew's moving south. He glances past her toward the road. Wyoming sits somewhere beyond it, already pulling. I ride north in the morning. They stand there, the space between them full and useless. Wood creaks as he tightens the strap. Fabric shifts as she adjusts the pack. He opens his mouth, closes it. You kept us moving, he says instead. She answers with a truth that fits. You learn fast. A wagon rattles by, cutting the moment thin. When it passes, the opening's gone. Emmett straightens, puts his hand on the saddle horn. Take care, Nora. She could say his name. She doesn't. You too, she says. He mounts, rides off with the others, easy and certain, like he always belonged there. Nora turns the other way, starts walking before she can stop herself. No one called after her. No promise followed. And the goodbye they didn't give settles heavier than if they'd said anything at all. Nora walks with a new crew at first light. Boots crunch earth. Bedrolls thump against shoulders. The sound is different already. New voices, new pace, nothing learned yet. She keeps her eyes forward. That's how you survive the first mile. The wagon creaks as she loads her kit. Different hands pass her water. Someone asks her name. She answers. Someone else jokes. She doesn't. By mid-morning, the trail settles. Dust rises. Breath finds rhythm. Motion returns, familiar and thin. A rider pulls alongside the wagon. You always is quiet. Only when it matters, she says. He laughs. Easy. Rides ahead. Nora stays apart at noon. Same work. Same movements. Wood. Fire. Food. Her hands know what to do even when the rest of her doesn't. She reaches for the coffee sack out of habit, then stops. The smell alone pulls something tight in her chest. She ties it close again. Saves it. That night, the crew beds down rough. Wind cut sharper. The fire burns hotter than she needs. No one brings her without asking. No one waits when she speaks. She listens to the men argue over nothing, over speed, over ground, over who leads tomorrow. Nora eats alone. The quiet she shared with Emmett doesn't follow her here. It belonged to a place that's already behind her. She lies awake longer than necessary, staring into dark. The motion keeps going. It always does. But something's changed. The trail still moves beneath her feet, yet the part of her that learned a different pace lagged behind. Pulling, stretching, refusing to catch up. Emmett stands at the fence as the herd settles into pasture. The ranch is quiet in a way the trail never was. Wind moves the grass. Wood creaks under his hand. Nothing presses him forward. A rider calls from the yard, asking about counts. Emmett answers without turning. He's been doing that all day, handling things clean, efficient, correct. His father notices, says nothing. When the work thins, Emmett walks toward the house, stops halfway. The habit catches him, listening for a wagon that isn't there, for a voice that never belonged to this place. Inside, the table's set. Coffee steams. He pours a cup and takes one drink. It's thin. Wrong. He sets it down untouched. Outside again, he splits wood. Too much of it. The pile grows higher than needed. Leather creaks as he works. Breath steadies. The motion should help. It doesn't. A hand asked him about winter grazing. Another asked about spring drives. Plans stack up fast when a man finally stops moving. That night, Emmett sits on the porch with the dock stretching wide. No firing. No shared quiet. Just distance, laid out clean and permanent. He reaches into his coat pocket and pulls out a small tin. Coffee grounds. Not enough for a pot. Just what he kept back without thinking. He smells it once, then closes the lid. In Wyoming, everything's meant to last. Land, wake, expectation. Emmett looks out at it all and understands, too late, that the only thing he never tried to keep was the one part of his life that only made sense while it was moving. Nora tightens a rope as the new wagon lurches at dawn. The crew moves out before the sun clears the land. Boots fall into rhythm. Breath settles. The trail takes hold the way it always does, asking for motion, offering nothing back. She builds a fire without thinking. Wood, spark, heat. The men line up, cups out. Same work, same sounds. When the coffee's ready, Nora opens the sack Emmett gave her. Just once. The smell rises, familiar, steady, out of place here. She measures it careful. Uses less than she wants. Save the rest. A man complains about the strength. She meets his eyes. Drink it or don't, she says. He drinks. The day pulls long. Wind scours the land clean. Fabric snaps. The wagon creaks forward mile by mile. Motion returns its old comfort, thin but reliable. At dusk, the crew stops early. A good place. Quiet enough. Nora sets a pot aside and sits on a crate instead. She watches a fire burn down on its own. No one notices. That's fine. She reaches into her pack and takes out the last of the good coffee. Not to brew, just to hold. She presses the sack flat, folds it small, and tucks it back where it won't spill. In the morning, she'll use it again. Slowly, not because it tastes better, but because it reminds her of a pace that once fit. Nora stands, feeds the fire one last stick, and steps back into the dark. The trail keeps moving. It always will. But now, she carries something it can't wear down. Not a promise, not a regret, but the knowledge that love existed once, and that it was real only because she didn't try to make it stay. If you love stories like this, you're welcome here. Subscribe if you want more Western romances. And if this story stayed with you, tell me in the comments. I'll see it. I'm your narrator, Sam. Until the next road.